Snow White has already hit theaters, and there are a lot of positives and negatives. I'm going to talk about everything, with spoilers, here on Cine Lovers. Starting with the negatives. A lot has changed from the original, which is normal, but honestly, they ended up changing more than they needed to. First, I need to talk about something that I thought was just absurd. The classic scene with the huntsman. Everyone knows that iconic scene where the evil queen sends the huntsman to kill Snow White and bring her heart back in a box. In the original, he can't bring himself to kill her because he feels pity, so he ends up putting an animal's heart instead. Now, in the live action, what does he put? An apple! Dude, an apple! He didn't even try to trick the queen. It looked like he was asking to get arrested. It felt super weird and made no sense. At the very least, they could have kept the animal's heart to make it more logical. Now, let's talk about the dwarf, which also sparked a lot of controversy. First, it was going to be a diverse group, then they said it would be played by dwarf actors, and after that, they changed their minds and made the dwarf CGI. But what really bothered me the most was Dopey. They completely changed his character. Dopey speaks now, and the whole charm of Dopey was that he didn't talk. It was part of who he was. Oh, and they gave him hair too. Honestly, there are things they just didn't need to mess with. By the way, the only thing Dopey didn't say was to remind you to like this video. So I'll go ahead and ask, hit that like button, help us out. It's free and it tells YouTube that this video's cool, so it shows it to more people who love movies. Man, in the original, the witch was terrifying. I'm still scared of her to this day. She had super intense expressions, but here, in the live action, I didn't feel anything. I was expecting a creepy, scary look, especially considering how much CGI they used on the dwarfs and the animals. But nope, the witch just looks like a regular old lady, totally lacked that impact the animation had. Now, about the final battle, man, it was way too quick. Seriously, like 5 minutes and done. And they even repeated a cliche that was already used in the live-action Aladdin. You know that scene where Jasmine convinces the guards to switch sides? They did the exact same thing here with Snow White. She walks up to the guards and starts saying, "Oh, you were born here, remember how things were before the queen took over?" Exactly the same! And the funniest part is, at the beginning of the movie, they make it clear that nobody remembers who Snow White was, not even her. But then, in the final battle, she shows up with a hood on, and suddenly everyone recognizes her and follows her lead. Kinda illogical, right? And then the evil queen shows up and doesn't do anything to stop it. She could have cast a spell, done something to stop them, but instead, she just runs straight to the castle, and the 7 dwarfs are standing right at the door, but she walks right past them and goes inside. And they don't do anything either. The only one who actually does something is that other guy from the rebels group, who is also a dwarf. He's the one who steps in and stops the queen from killing Snow White with her little sword. But after that, the queen basically gives up. She runs to the mirror. Who is fairer than me? Man, seriously, right there, in the middle of chaos, the kingdom falling apart, people rebelling, and she's worried about who's the fairest. And she doesn't even try to do anything against the guards who turn on her. She says she has an army. But really, what? Like 7 guards at most. Even that guy who was super loyal to her, the head of the soldiers, gives up. I wasn't expecting him to surrender, but he just shows up and says, "Oh, I remember how things used to be." And that's it. Suddenly, out of nowhere, everyone remembers how great life was before the evil queen, like magic. Then we get to the mirror part. She says, "Who is fairer than me?" And the mirror answers, "Snow White." She smashes the whole mirror, the shards hit her, and she kind of turns to stone and gets sucked into the mirror. I thought they were going to show her trapped inside it, like in a darker, more intense way. But nope, she just gets pulled in. The mirror puts itself back together, and that's it. Never shows up again. In the animation, man, her ending is way more intense. When Snow White bites the apple, the dwarfs show up charging in. There's thunder, rocks exploding, she falls off a cliff. It's such a tense scene. But in the live action, I felt like they really toned everything down. Even the whole thing with the huntsman giving her the apple, they softened it a lot. Now, talking about the songs, because if it's a Disney movie, there's gotta be music, right? But honestly, I thought the new songs were super weak. Nothing sticks in your head. I can't remember a single lyric, only the classic ones. And here's the thing, 2 really famous songs from the original animation were left out. One of them, okay, I get why. They talk about Prince Charming, and here there's no Prince Charming. But still, they could have at least included the melody. You know, the Wishing Well song at the beginning, the one she sings to the well, could have easily been included in the live action. They could have tweaked the lyrics, adapted it a bit, because it's such a classic Snow White song. And the other one, the Someday My Prince Will Come song that she sings to the dwarfs, that one's gone too. I get it, in the movie she's not looking for a prince, the focus is different, but still, it's a classic. At least the Seven Dwarfs song made it, right? That's the main one. They even expanded it a bit, which was interesting, but the choreography was pretty simple, could have been bolder, you know? That first musical number in the village kinda felt like Beauty and the Beast vibes. The baker singing, the town folk, super similar. The coolest choreography was definitely the dwarfs. But alright, there were good things too. The CGI for the dwarf was actually really well done. It looked good. Still, I personally wish they had used real dwarf actors. They could have given more actors that opportunity. There's even one dwarf actor in the film, part of Jonathan's group. Yeah, they changed his name too. It feels a little odd having one real dwarf next to 7 CGI ones. I don't know. It gives you that sense that maybe it wasn't necessary. One thing I was kind of worried about was when they first showed that the dwarfs would be CGI, because it could easily fall into that uncanny valley. You know, them looking half realistic, half cartoony. It could have turned out weird, but honestly, it worked. The expressions, the smoothness of their movements, their dynamic, it all looked really good. Whenever they show up, they steal the scene. For me, the highlight of the movie is definitely the 7 dwarfs and the little animals, which had fantastic CGI. It felt very Disney, and the sets were beautiful too. I thought maybe they'd keep the animals just doing typical animal stuff, but no, they actually helped Snow White, helping her open the door, distracting the guards. That was great, just like in the animation. So yeah, the way they handled the animals was really fun too. And the animals aren't all Animal Planet style like they did in The Lion King. They've got expressions, big eyes, they're cuter, so that made the whole thing way more charming as well. Now, about the prince, right? In this version, there's no prince. They changed a lot, even his name. Now he's called Jonathan, and he's a guy who's against the queen's rule. He's part of a group of rebels who fight in the name of the original king. But to the people in power, they're seen as thieves, outlaws, criminals. What they actually want is to overthrow the queen's government. And honestly, I thought that was one of the strong points of the movie, because he has a completely different backstory compared to the prince in the animation. In the cartoon, the prince just shows up out of nowhere, falls in love with Snow White, and that's it. Gives her a kiss without much context. But not here. Jonathan has a motive. There's a reason behind his actions. His relationship with Snow White is built up throughout the movie. Even when it gets to that kiss scene, it actually makes sense. It has weight. There's a story behind it. So, I thought his character development was interesting and well done. It's super important. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any videos I post here. Now, talking about the performances of Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot, who play Snow White and the Queen. Man, I like them. I saw a lot of people criticizing one or the other, always divided. One group criticized Rachel, others criticized Gal, but personally, I didn't see a problem. I like both of them. Maybe, at certain moments, Snow White made some gestures that felt a bit theatrical. I thought in a few scenes it came off a little exaggerated. But then again, that's part of it, right? She's playing a classic princess, so those mannerisms kind of come with the role. Sure, maybe she overdid it here and there, but overall, I thought it was good. And about Gal Gadot, a lot of people said it was her worst performance in any movie, but honestly, I didn't think so. When I read those comments, I expected something terrible, like stiff acting, super awkward, but nah, I didn't think it was bad at all. I thought she was fun in the role of the queen. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you watched it yet? Comment down below and let me know what you think. What did you think of the movie? It's always cool to hear your opinions, whether you agree or disagree with me. The movie's already in theaters, so go check it out. There are positives, there are negatives, but in the end, it's another Disney classic getting a live-action remake worth watching and drawing your own conclusions. And while you're at it, click on these videos popping up on the screen to keep diving deeper into the Disney universe. I've got tons of secrets and behind-the-scenes facts in these videos that you've never seen before. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next Cine Lovers.